I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night wherever watching this transmission. Let's take a look at it, guys. Apocalyptic shutdowns, apocalyptic stores, private sector jobs on the chopping block. Who's going to fund the public sector? That's a really good question. So let's take a look at what's happening across the Commonwealth. We're going to kick off first in the United States of America, and they're getting hit pretty hard with these COVID shutdown and restrictions. Over 50% of department stores in malls predicted to close by 2021, real estate services firm says. 50 points. Now, you're going to see, you're going to start seeing half-empty malls? Hey, guys, let's take a trip down to the half-empty mall and see what's still open. Wow, this is getting pretty bad real fast. Now, here's the deal, guys. This has been happening 3-4 years ago. It's been happening, and it's getting worse. And I think they knew that this was going to become a really tough, where we're going to be heading into financial troubles into the future. So they started trying to find, a way to blanket the situation and kind of blame it on something else. So it's not the government's fault. It's not them raising taxes. It's not them garnishing more of your wages so they could pay for more taxes and stuff. It's it's just this sickness that's going around. So we're going to look at it at the end of the show, what I'm talking about, how this has been happening for ages. So over 50% of department stores in malls predicted. So department stores still represent about 60% of the anchor space within malls today, according to Green Street Advisors. Up until the COVID, it has been years of kicking the can down the road, analysts. So there you go. They've been kicking the can down the road for years now, trying to keep these companies afloat, right? Green Street is forecasting more than half department stores anchoring America's malls are going to close permanently by the end of the next year. So that's 2021. First, the department store closes, then the apparel shops try to scoot out of deals. This is one of the two punch that could trigger a wave of malls shutting for good over the next 12 months, because malls pay a lot of money in property tax, security, maintenance, all kinds of stuff malls pay, right? So there's a lot of money, right? Parking, all kinds of contracts they have for snow removal, whatever they're doing, right? So there's lots of money on the line here, right? More than 50% of department stores anchoring America's malls are going to close permanently by the end of next year. A new report of Green Street Advisor predicts there are about 1,000 malls still open in the U.S., and roughly 60% of those have department store retails such as Macy's as anchor tenants, the commercial real estate services firm said. The COVID, the sickness that just mysteriously came out of nowhere that has slammed the U.S. economy, is speeding up the demise of department stores. As COVID forced the likes of JCPenney, Macy's, and Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus to shut shops temporarily, and the circumstances became even more dire for those already struggling companies. So again, they just said it right there, already struggling companies. So they were already struggling. Why? Well, the middle class is disappearing. It's too expensive to be middle class anymore. We got to go down to working poor or severely poor or underclass or something. We got to figure something out, because there's no more. The middle class is like rich now. If you're still middle class, you're considered rich if you're still in the middle class and you're doing well. Many malls will now be forced with multiple anchor vacancies, a tough place to come back from, especially in an environment where deemed for space is virtually non-existent. Now, let me give you guys a little tip. If you're a mall owner or you're a mall manager or something, the mall I was in downtown Vancouver, where I had my store for many years, let me tell you guys, what they did was smart. The whole upstairs of the mall was empty. It was empty for years. It was always empty. I've been there for 13 years. The whole upstairs of that mall was empty. They converted the whole upstairs of the mall into a school. A whole school upstairs. And students would come, they shop in the mall or get whatever food at the food court, and they'd go upstairs to school. That was a clever move. Very clever for the mall to do that. You know what I'm saying? To fill up that empty space. So let's move over to Canada. Now, Toronto is in a lot of trouble right now. The city of Toronto has been really hit hard when it comes to this whole retail scenario they're in. Retail groups warned businesses will lose everything due to the new Ontario lockdowns. Ontario announced on Monday that all non-essential retailers across the province will go into lockdown as of Boxing Day, a move that retail associations say could lead to the death of thousands of small businesses. The province-wide shutdown will begin at 12:01 a.m. on December 26th. The restrictions will be in place for 14 days in Northern Ontario and 28 days in the rest of the province. Now, hear me out, guys. I've heard through the grapevine that in Ontario, they're looking to actually have a Victoria, Melbourne-style lockdown. In Victoria, if you've been following the channel on Mike of the Night and stuff, Victoria was on lockdown for like 28 or 30 weeks on lockdown in Australia. 28 weeks. Let's just give or take a few weeks. People couldn't go out. They had to get permits to visit family. They had to have an app on their phone. They couldn't be 5 miles outside of their radius from their home. So there's a lot of things happening. And if you're caught and you're not grocery shopping, you could do up to 10 to 15 days in jail. So this is what it is. So it is announced that the new lockdown, the government also unveiled a new Ontario small business support grant that will provide between $10,000 to $20,000 for struggling business owners. The one-time grant will be offered to business employing fewer than 100 people and have been required to close significantly restrict services due to the shutdown and experienced a minimum revenue decline of 20%. So 10-20 large, I mean, I'm going to throw this out there for you guys that, small businesses and stuff. My small business in downtown Vancouver, I would gross 40 to 60 large per month. 20 large wouldn't do any, especially if they decide to do a Victoria-style shutdown. Okay, 28 days, 30 days. Okay, maybe I could see 20 large helping you out. I could see 20 large working. But I can't see it going on for a Victoria-style Melbourne lockdown. No way. So there it is. Ontario's being hammered. They will not survive this. Many businesses have been hanging on by a thread, and unfortunately, the province just cut it. So a lot of people have been under pressure. And what's been pushing a lot of retailers out before COVID in Toronto or in the province of Ontario is property taxes. We discussed here on the channel, we've went over several property tax situations before COVID, way before COVID, where property taxes went from $128,000 a year to $250,000 per year in like one year, in a small restaurant in downtown Toronto with no second story. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. So that's what's happening. So this was happening before COVID. A lot of retail stores were getting... So are they trying to weather it out to see... Is the government trying to weather it out to see which... Well, the government in Canada thinks small business owners are criminals. So I just paid my federal tax, my corporate tax from 2018, 2019. It wasn't cheap, but I paid it. So, yeah, so there it is right there. The small business supports announced by the Ontario government today provide struggling small businesses with a chance at surviving a second wave. I don't think so. A 28-day lockdown, 20 large, maybe. And then if they just leave us alone and let us do our business. So here it is. I wanted to open. Here it is. This is the one I was looking for here. Let's take a look here. This is kind of important because why curbside pickup is here to stay for some retailers. So it looks like, so what they're trying to, in this language, trying to hint, is they're trying to hint that this might go on forever. So get used to the curbside pickup because this is what might happen. So curbside pickup is here to stay for some retailers. At COVID continues to alter the way of a Canadian shop for everything from groceries to holiday gifts. Many retailers are looking curbside pickup as a permanent part of their service offering. Shopify's recently released Future of Commerce report found that the consumer hesitation about in-store shopping is driving retailers to adopt new methods such as curbside pickup. I have Shopify on my store. Thank God I did that last year. And let me tell you, it's paying off. People are coming. They order from out of town. Locally, I don't get too much business. Everybody comes from out of town. It could be 10 feet of snow outside. People will drive all the way here to shop at my store, which is really good. It's a destination store. So that is really good. I'm happy for that. I'm grateful. And it's going to be very interesting how they play this out because Shopify, I mean, they're right on the money with this. And I'm very grateful that I got Shopify last year. Let's move on. So let's move on to Australia. Full list of Target closing and rebranding as Kmart. So you're going to start to see a bunch of mergers, acquisitions, and all kinds of weird stuff happening in Australia. I'm trying to find, so these are all the ones that are happening in Australia. These are all the mergers that are going to be converting back to Kmart's, I guess it was Kmart or Woolworths, then Target, then Kmart. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the order was. But there it is there. There are all the closures there or restructuring of them. And you're not getting too many information listings like they have in other English-speaking countries in Australia of what's actually closing. So Australian store closure list. This is the current store closures projected by 2020. So this is it. Currently, the store closures that were announced this year will carry into 2021, stand a potential of 713 stores. So there it is. There's the 2020 forecast, and it's right in line with 2016. And 2016 is when the apocalypse, disaster, empty malls started really to go strong across middle-class suburbs, like really strong in this time. And then obviously, there's less here. Like, hear me out. There's less here in 2017, 2018, and 2019 because there's less stores to close, right? So then you go into 2020, boom! Look at 2020, boom! And look at what they're forecasting. Boom! So it's basically the rest of the 2-3 nails in the coffins that are going to shut it down. Store closures by category. Fashion, the hardest hit in 2020. Again, middle-class people that like to keep up with the Joneses and look the part won't be buying those fancy clothes anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I brought this list up because it's good. It's got store closures by category. So there it is right there. So let's go here. Let's go to 2020. Let's go to 2019. Well, 2016 was the hardest because that's when a lot of electronic stores closed in 2016. And that's when it started where everyone's ordering their car stereos, car alarms, car starters. They were just ordering everything on Amazon. Nobody was. And then here it is, 2020, and they are forecasting clothing to be one of the biggest, hit the hardest. Clothing, electronics, not much because there's not Radio Shacks. All those stores have gone, right? And then blue, home and other closing, and then you got accessories and footwear. Food, you don't got too much food closures here. So that's not too bad. So current stated closures, 2021 estimated store closures. Here you go. These are just Target, David Jones, Country Red Group, Premier Investments, and Mosaic Group. So I wanted to know, I kind of wanted to throw Australia in there, but there's not too much going on when it comes to that. Information, it's not being really told, or they're not being really Australia's always been weird for that. Like, you don't know, you're not allowed to know what a house sold for in Australia. You're not allowed this, you're not allowed that in real estate. You're not allowed, it's private, and this. Like, what the hell, man? Anyways, COVID could mean 10,000 businesses fail in 2021 retail in New Zealand. Again, New Zealand is in a ton of trouble right now, and New Zealand's been in a lot of trouble now for about 7 years in the retail sector. So here it is. In August, survey found 68% of its members reported a decline in sales since the latest lockdown. So why don't they start getting decline in sales since 2016? People that have been in business for 10 years and actually look at it for the last 10 years, and you'll see a downtrend right to where we are today. It wouldn't go like this and like this. It would actually go woo as internet takes over, Amazon takes over. Amazon doesn't pay the tax that we do, small businesses. So what are they going to do? They're going to depend on Amazon, but if Amazon doesn't pay their taxes and corporate taxes and opens their businesses out of different areas or has a corporate license, or you know what I'm saying, right? And runs these loopholes so they don't pay back any federal or provincial taxes, that's going to destroy it's going to destroy the governments because they're not going to have that money in their coffers to actually pay for stuff, right? In August, so we got this Retail New Zealand Chief Executive Greg Hartford said in a recent outbreak, again with the outbreaks, a proportion of these businesses that were confident they would be opening 12 months' time also took a step back, falling 11 points to 64%. So they're looking at doing more lockdowns across the Commonwealth, especially countries that have been locked down for ages. 25,000 jobs at risk at Debenhams closure followed Topshop collapse. So this is out of London. This is a big deal. Debenhams, Britain's biggest department store chain, is permanently closing UK operations. There it is. The announcement came to 24 hours after Topshop owner Arcadia filed for bankruptcy protection. Together, the business failures put 25,000 UK jobs at risk. So these are 25,000 people that depend on their jobs to take care and raise their families on whatever they could get by on, right? And now they're going to lose that, right? They're going to lose that. 24,000 jobs. And then it goes back to this article. Let's see if it comes up. What's this? What's this? Then it goes to this. But this was happening before COVID. Food banks now outnumber McDonald's in Britain. And so, Britain, 1,429 McDonald's, 500 Burger Kings, 500 Starbucks, and 2,000 food banks. So there it is right there. This was happening pre-COVID. This is pre-COVID. It wouldn't surprise me if they start deleting these articles, so that because this right here doesn't fit with this whole this narrative that everything's falling apart because of COVID. This does not fit. This one little article here doesn't fit their narrative because it's happening before, right? And then you go into this, and then you go into what was the other one? Let's see if I could find it, if I remember the article for you guys to see. Here it is. So this is before. This is 2 years ago, a year and a half. More than 8 million people in England living in unsuitable housing. They're living in absolute garbage. Like, no offense. I'm just saying 1.4 million people in England live in substandard housing. Substandard. Like, it's just, I don't even know what that is. So there it is. This is what's happening. So this is happening pre-COVID. So, and in Australia, if you're a homeowner, we covered this last year. Oh, 2 years ago. Watch this. See, so in Australia, food banks working with Australia homeowners. Yeah. So basically, the food bank, right here, banks are now referring people to food banks to help them pay their mortgage. So they don't want them to default on their homes because that's more important. So instead of starving to death, the banks are giving vouchers for homeowners to go buy food. This food is supposed to be for poor. This food is supposed to be for people down and out of the luck and living in very unsuitable conditions. But they are, unfortunately, that's absolutely not fair. But there it is. If this is happening, this is 2019, August. So this is before the whole COVID thing. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there. And then record number of shops closed with worse to come, warns analysis. About 11,000 outlets shut in the first half of 2020, twice as many as the same period last year. And then again, at least they're not like hiding the fact that last year they were closing. And now it's twice as much. So here it is, a record number of shops disappearing for the high streets across the country in the first half of 2020 as COVID lockdowns hammered the retail sector. A total of 11,120 chain store outlets closed between January and June, while 5,119 opened. 6,001 net store closures was a record high, and compared with 3,509 the first half of last year. So analysts predict that there will be more closures to come, as the data does not include outlets that were temporarily closed under lockdown rules when the analysis visited, which might end up permanently shuttered. So that's in London. So there it is. More storefronts. A lot of storefronts are getting hit hard, and it's becoming tough. It's coming tough. So here it is, guys. I wanted to show you guys here on the channel what I was talking about. Retail graveyard from 1 year ago, before COVID. Retail closures in Canada facing bankruptcy in 2020, before COVID. Mike in the Night, big retail closures. This is the one I was talking to you about from 2 years ago. That's a really good show. And look at this. More than 5,800 stores will close in 2019. Right there. So right there, it was already happening. How retail stores could beat Amazon 4 years ago. Is retail dead? That is the question. Microsoft to close all brick and mortar locations. Malls looking empty. So here's me in a mall too. Empty malls all over. Look at that. So there's me and my friend Owen there in a mall. So Gap closing stores before. So this was all happened before. This Ghost restaurants on the rise in Vancouver. Look, I even have Scooby-Doo there. This was happening a year ago. Restaurants were shutting down. Property taxes were getting out of control. And they were the owners were passing the property taxes on to the tenants. Anyways, guys, if you sat through the whole 20 minutes, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to set your reminders for our upcoming live streams. We got Mike in the Night and then we got our Christmas special, actually, on the this Wednesday. So let's keep in touch. Let me know what you guys think. This is nothing new, but this is something we should address, because now the private sector is right now in one of its darkest times ever. I think ever. In organized history, in organized times, I'll call it organized times, we're like in right now. I think we're going to see this get a lot worse than it gets better. I really hope people could get through this, make their way through, and one day at a time, and figure things out and be smart. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll talk soon.